Are you actively looking for duplexes, aplexes, or small apartment building deals, but you haven't done a deal yet? Now, you know you want to scale your real estate investing, but you're feeling stuck and maybe a little frustrated and you're not sure how to proceed. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 things that may be holding you back from closing your first or maybe your next deal that you're looking for, small apartment buildings. I'm going to show you how to solve each one of these. Let's do this. Hey, my name is Michael Blanc, and I help people come financially free with real estate. Now, beginning, I was a house flipper. I flipped about 3 dozen houses before I realized my insanity, and I sort of accidentally got in apartment buildings, and I struggled with this as well because I tried to do it myself. I figured I had some real estate investing experience, and that first deal was kind of a nightmare. And looking back on it, I made a variety of mistakes. What I did is I didn't have any help. First, I was reinventing the wheel. There wasn't really a model I was following. I really wasn't sure if I was doing it right. Like, for example, was the underwriting right? I have no idea. Was it even a market I was supposed to be in? I knew how to do comps, but I didn't know anything about rent growth or even landlord-tenant laws and things of that nature. So I did do my first deal, but I could have, hindsight, had I had the right system in place and the 4 things I'm going to talk about, I would avoid a lot of mistakes. Actually, I wouldn't have bought in that anyway. It was a 12 unit in Washington, D.C. for a variety of different reasons. And so what I find is a lot of new investors are looking for deals. They're making one of 4 mistakes. And I want to kind of communicate that to you so maybe I can help you avoid making those mistakes. Number 1 is that new investors looking for apartment building deals, they're not what I call deal ready. Deal ready means that they have really no business going in and talking to brokers, making offers because they haven't done the pre-work to get to that point. So for example, having insufficient knowledge, not being educated, not knowing how to pick the right market. And also one important thing is not having their team in place. So not having your property manager or lender, they just start calling brokers. And then what happens is they get asked for proof of funds from their brokers. They don't appear to have been taken seriously. They don't even call back at all. And it's because you're not using the right language and you don't really have a team build. And because you don't have a track record, you're not getting taken seriously. So that's certainly something I did as well. And I found that even with my house flipping experience, these brokers weren't taking me serious either because I'd never done a deal before. So the second thing I find is that once this is in place, they're really unable to analyze deals with confidence. And that really leads to mistakes, sometimes big mistakes, overpaying, things of that nature. Number 3 is deal flow. Okay, so you know how to analyze a deal, but then they're not getting the exact deal flow because they're going on the MLS or maybe LoopNet to find deals. And maybe that's what you're experiencing right now is you're not getting a lot of deal flow. And then number 4 is, let's not forget about capital, right? Because if you're coming from a single family house investing world, which maybe you are, like I did, I wasn't raising capital. I didn't really know how to raise capital. So it was really holding me back in really getting into it because it was kind of a limiting belief for me. I didn't have enough money to buy an apartment building. So you got to really worry about all these 4 things and one or some of these may be holding you back. So what's the solution? The solution is what I call the 4 pillars of apartment investing success. Being deal ready, deal analysis, deal flow, and deal capital. Let's talk about all 4 of them. So deal ready. Deal ready talks about 2 things. 1 is education and 2, team. You need both of those to be ready, to be deal ready. So you need some kind of education so you sound like you know what you're talking about. You're using insider words like cap rate or reposition or value add or something, some insider language that shows to a broker that you have at least a minimum amount of education. And number 2, you have to have your team in place. You can't call a broker and say, hey, I have a rental property, I'm going to buy this $1 million building. You can't do that. You have to have a team behind you, and the most important members on your team are a property manager, a lender, maybe an attorney. And now when you call that broker, you can say, hey, I'm working with so-and-so at so-and-so. They manage 3,000 units, and I have my CPA here, and I've built this and that. And now you're talking about your entire team and their collective track record. You're not really talking about yourself. So now to the broker, it seems like you must be a player. Right? You must be a serious person if you have all these experienced people behind you. Therefore, by association, you must be experienced. So, number 1, focus on being deal ready. Number 2 is deal analysis. And this really means 2 things. 1 is you need a strong financial model to do these modeling things. You need it for anything, by the way. I mean, you need it for a house flip. You need to calculate the ARV for rental property or a pad split or something. You need to know what the rental comps are. You need to know what the ARV comps are. So you need to make sure that you have a strong financial model. That's number 1. And then number 2, in our world, by the way, the model is called a syndicated deal analyzer. Check it out, syndicated deal analyzer. It's the most frequent used analysis tool and a planner for anything that involves investors. Number two, though, is you need to make sure you have the right numbers in that spreadsheet, because I can make my spreadsheet say anything I want. But the question is, what is behind those assumptions? And again, you got to lean on your team of experts about, well, Mr. Property Manager, what are your rent projections? What are your expenses? What are you seeing out there? So you put the right kind of numbers in. So focus on deal analysis. Once you focus on deal analysis, focus on deal flow. Now, so many times I see people making similar mistakes. For example, with deal flow, you got to have the right market. You got to have a market that has rising incomes, rising population growth, that kind of stuff. You also need a market that gives you enough deal flow. If you're looking at a tiny market and you want to analyze 3 deals a week, is that market big enough to give you 3 deals a week that you want to analyze, right? And then number 3 is the source of that deal. What is the source of your deals? And a lot of people, like I did, I actually found my property from a wholesaler, which was then listed on the MLS because there was a small multi-family building, but a lot of people go in LoopNet and they're surprised that nothing pencils. They're not getting calls back from anybody. And so now they're like, oh gosh, I can't find anything that pencils and therefore this must be broken. So you got to solve this with the deal flow. And the way to do it is through brokers. Now you can find those brokers on LoopNet, but don't necessarily call on the deal, but that's how you find the brokers. Create a spreadsheet of all the brokers you find in LoopNet and start calling them. Start engaging them. You got to chase them because they don't always call you back. Get on their buyers list so they send you deals. Be responsive to those brokers. Here's the bottom line. To have insured deal flow, focus all of your deal flow energy on the relationship with the brokers. These brokers, at least the good ones, are the ones who are building relationships with sellers. That's all they do. They send them cards, they take them to lunch, they do all these things. It's way too tedious, way too much work, and especially in the beginning for you to do all that. No. Instead, focus your efforts on these brokers. That's what you really want to do. So deal flow, focus on deal flow, solve that problem. And to solve that problem, you focus on picking the right market, of course, but also focusing on the broker. The last one is going to be deal capital. Okay, deal capital obviously relates to raising capital. And a lot of people, of course, have never done it before, and they don't really believe they can do it, and certainly because they don't know how to do it. So there's some education involved in raising capital, and you'll get that during the deal ready phase. But the key really to raising capital is to be able to raise capital before you start making offers. You might be saying, Michael, how in the world is that possible? If I don't have an offer, how am I going to raise money for something I don't have? And the answer in our world is what we call the sample deal package. Okay, sample deal package is basically an investor package. It's based on a real deal that you use the analysis software for to model it out for the investors. You put it all together, you use the broker's photos and everything in there. You copy and paste a little bit, and now you create a nice little package for the investor. And you use it as a conversation piece. Now you tell them it's not a real live deal, but you say, hey, the deals I'm looking for are going to be substantially like this. And you basically pitch it to them as a real live deal. The point of that is you get their major questions answered, their objections answered, and you make them more comfortable with investing in multifamily, investing with you, so that when you have, let's say you have 5 verbal commitments from investors, hey, yes, if you find me a deal that looks like this, that's really interesting to me. I'd be interested in investing $50,000 in a deal like that. So let's imagine you have 5 people that say, well, conditional yes. I got to see the live deal, but that's conditional yes. You have $250,000 behind you. Do you now see how you could actually start making offers with relative confidence now for $1 million deal? Right? The answer is yes, exactly right. But most people don't even get started because they don't seem to be able to raise capital. When they do have a live deal, they can't raise capital. That's really, really stressful, so don't do that. So with regards to raising capital, yes, become deal ready, get your education, build your team, learn how to analyze, get deal flow, but also create a sample deal package so that you can start raising capital. All right, so I call these the 4 pillars of apartment investing success. So look out for these on your journey as you're trying to do deals and you kind of feel like you're stuck. Look and see if you're stuck maybe in one or maybe all of those things and figure out how you can solve each of those 4 problems. And, we'd love to be able to help you with that. I go a little deeper on that on these 4 pillars to kind of give you a better understanding of how you might be able to solve them right now. I have for that purpose, Apartments 101. It's a free video course that I created for you, for real estate investors who want to scale up and level up and maybe get into more like apartment buildings, and they're maybe stuck a little bit right now. So check out my Apartments 101 Masterclass, because I talk about how to build your team, how to become more experienced than you maybe think you are, how to raise capital, and how to overcome some of those things that you might be stuck with right now. So check out Apartments 101, get that link below and check it out. Hopefully it helps you on your journey to get to that next level.